Hi, this is going to be my review of the Texbo Real Thick Cowhide Men's Leather Shoulder Briefcase Laptop Bag and Tote. It's going to come in two parts. First, I'm just going to kind of give you guys a brief video showing all the parts of the bag and the sides, and then we'll go into a little bit of detail. If you're interested, you can keep watching. So this is the front of the bag. See, there's this flap that goes up. There's a strap here that holds everything into place. This is a side that comes with a nice little pocket here. It's also the back of the bag here. It also has a little pocket here for you to hold things. The other side here comes with another pocket, a couple D-rings for you to hang stuff and hang the strap at different sides if you want to hang stuff from the bag itself. Inside the bag here, there's two large pockets, as you can see, and two small pockets for you to put your cables and pens, papers, small notepads, whatever you may need. So, going into detail about this bag is essentially, as you can tell, a competitor of the saddleback briefcase. It's essentially made as a homage to it. So, starting with the very basics, this bag has dimensions of 16.5 inches in width, 12 inches in height, and 9 inches in depth. If we compare that to the saddleback briefcase, that comes 16 inches in width, so about half an inch shorter, 12 inches in height, and 9 inches in depth, so exactly the same. Weight-wise, the saddlebag is 7.6 pounds, while this one's 5.5, so there's probably 2 pound difference in terms of materials that they're using, or, the thickness of the leather, but not a huge difference. 5.5 pounds is still pretty hefty, I think, for a leather bag. So if we start in detail, a couple of things that I want to start out with is the strap here. If you look at the strap, it's made of two pieces of leather, like the way the saddleback is, that kind of strap onto each other with a buckle to hold it in place. It's also made of very, very high quality leather, two pieces that's stitched all the way through. And I actually followed the strap all the way through, and it doesn't look like it's made of multiple pieces of leather. It looks like these two straps are each made of two individual long pieces of leather. It comes with the same shoulder pads that you see that comes on the saddleback. Also on the side here, which I really like, is there's a sliding kind of holder for the strap itself, which if you look at some of the other videos online, one of the big knocks on the saddleback bag is that people have to tie twine on the bottom because one of the straps is kind of held in place, so you can't actually slide it up and down. And I think this design choice by Texbo is really smart because there's so much friction between two pieces of leather that this isn't sliding anywhere. It's not going to come off. It's also held in the back by a rivet, same way that the saddleback is. Now, the other part is, if we look at this handle is also really well made. Looks like one solid piece of leather. Looks like this is, since it's going to be a major loading point, isn't something that's going to be breaking anytime soon. It's actually sewn on rather than rivets, but sewn on with multiple stitching in an X formation and a square across, and it looks like it's really well made. I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon. And the sides of the leather held down by rivets as well. Now, if we start with the side of the bag, you'll notice that it's essentially an exact copy of how Saddlebag does its design. There's two pockets here, one on this side, one on the opposite side. There's these rings here. This is probably the ring you're going to be using the most to hold the strap in place. These rings themselves are also, looks like, made out of some kind of metal. You can hear the clinking. It's not going to be plated plastic that some of the imitation bags use. They're also each held on by one strap of leather and a rivet held in place, which you can see here and here. These straps are pretty sturdy and thick. I don't think these are going to be breaking anytime soon. And if you notice where the loading is, right here, where you're putting the bag in this position most of the time, it's actually held on by two rivets and additional stitching to hold it in place. So this area here where it would be most likely to break seems like the area that they spent the most time, reinforcing to make sure it's very strongly done. Now if we look at the back of the bag here, you'll notice it has the same back pocket that you can put things into. You'll notice, and I'll start talking about this more as well, these inside pockets are all lined with nylon rather than leather. I actually think it's a better design choice. If you even look at high-end bags, they use some sort of interior lining rather than just leather, whether it's treated or raw. And I think it's just a better idea if you have stuff spilling in there, or junk is going to get in there. It's going to be much easier to clean than any kind of treated leather you can put in there. It also has these two straps you see running all the way down. One of the big knocks that saddlebags always made on the imitation bags is that these straps don't come off, and they say you can take these off for a belt, to use as a belt buckle, or whatever else you need to strap things when you're out camping with the bag or something. And I honestly don't know how often they'll be used, but this strap also comes off in the same way that saddlebags does, and it's just held on by a couple leather straps here where it slides in and out through. So that's an option with these bags. These leather straps, as well as the shoulder strap, are also made of two pieces of leather sewn together. They look really well made. I ran through every single one of these straps, and they look like they're all made by two contiguous pieces of leather sewn together. It doesn't look like they're using scrap leather and then trying to bond it together in areas where you can't see. So these look like really well made straps. It doesn't look like they were really trying to cut any corners here in terms of production or price. Now, one of the things about the back that I noticed when I looked into it is, if I put it at the right angle here, you can probably see there's a piece of leather that ends right here, and then a second piece starts underneath. So this is not one contiguous piece of leather. And you'll notice that throughout my review as I talk about it. Saddleback is always really proud of the fact that all of their bags are made of multiple single large pieces of leather. These are pretty massive pieces of leather, but obviously they're sewn together in areas where you can't see. Saddleback always says that this is probably going to be an issue in terms of strength and longevity of the bag, but honestly, the way I see it is there's a limitation to this bag in terms of size and how much you can put into the bag and how much you can weigh it. Unless you're filling this thing up with, I don't know, pure metal, lead, or whatever it is, there's never going to be enough weight in here where having a sewn together strip rather than a contiguous strip is going to make a difference in how long this bag is going to last. The way I see it is, the tensile strength of this leather compared to the sewing, the difference in it is probably, way beyond the maximum capacity you can even load this bag at. And the bottom's the same way. If you look at it, there's also, these sewn on square right in the bottom. But each of these squares, even though they're contiguous, are made all of the same quality of leather. It's not like, they're putting scrap leather in the bottom where you can't see it. This leather feels exactly the same as the leather they use on the side here. The other part I like about this is part of the design that Saddleback uses. These leather straps here take most of the brunt and scratches and whatever it may be from being on the floor. It's not going to actually transfer onto the bottom of your bag itself. So if things get scuffed up or marked up, it's only these you really have to treat and clean. If you need them fixed, these straps are easy enough to take out and even replace if you have to. So going back into detail, before we go inside the bag, I want you guys to notice the quality of the stitching that's done here. It's probably hard for you to see, but the stitching is obviously all hand done and very well done with high quality control, especially in the corners here where they're turning. You can see that these stitches follow the edges really well, and it's not like they're curving in and out. You also see reinforcement stitches in areas that are important. So like here where they have the buckles coming in with the straps of leather, and around here, where loading parts are, essentially where you're going to be putting more weight onto the bag itself, it's stitched multiple times back and forth across. So obviously someone, sat there and thought about it and was like, hey, should probably make those areas extra strong so it's not going to tear up on you. I've had this bag for a while and none of the stitching has frayed. I don't know what type of material they use for stitching, but whatever it is, it's really strong and well made, and it seems similar in quality to pretty much every other bag I own that has stitching holding it in place. I also want to point out here that the other thing that they really thought about is in the high loading pieces, the shoulder strap and this piece of leather here at the D-ring, there's two rivets rather than one holding it in place. Obviously this was designed with the thought in mind that they need this to last a while. It's also stitched on as well as using the rivets. So I don't think this is going to be a point of failure anytime soon for the bag. So going inside the bag, start with the top here. Now, one of Saddleback's things that they talk about is they use pigskin leather on the inside so that it's a soft touch material and still leather. This uses some sort of suede material, which is also soft touch on the top. However, on the inside, they use nylon reinforcement on pretty much every surface, including the pockets, except for this piece of leather in the divider. The front part here is leather itself. The rest, like the back piece and this, is all nylon, which I really like because I'm always throwing food, drinks, and stuff in my bag. I've always got stuff spilling in there, and it's so much easier to clean when you have a nylon interior than any type of treated leather where you're nervous about staining it, ruining it, or using any type of cleaning material that may fade the leather or damage the leather in any way. With this, you could pretty much, if you needed to, even spray shout on the inside to get rid of stains. The way I see it is, high-end handbags made for women, like Louis Vuitton and stuff like that, they all contain some type of nylon lining on the inside rather than pure leather. So obviously someone who has a lot of experience making handbags has at some point thought, hey, this is probably a better material than putting pure leather on the inside, because I'm sure for a $1,000 handbag, cost of materials is not a huge consideration. The other part of this bag, if you notice, is that these individual pockets are not made of leather. They're also made of nylon, the same material, but much, much thicker. So these, I'm not nervous shoving stuff inside that I'm going to scratch or poke a hole in any of this stuff. This seems like it's stuff that's going to pretty much last forever. This also comes with this hidden keychain here where you can hold things. Now, the one thing this doesn't have on the interior is on the saddleback on the back here, there's that false pocket on the bottom. This one does not have that. It's just nylon along the bottom. I guess, frankly, I'm not sure there's a big utility in having the false pocket, since it's been announced in pretty much every YouTube video that they make that obviously it's there. Anyone who knows this bag is going to know to look there. And frankly, if someone's going to steal stuff out of your bag, they're probably stealing the whole bag. Probably aren't going to take stuff out and leave the rest of the bag there for you. All right, so give you an idea of how much this bag can hold. So this is in comparison to the large bag that Saddleback makes. So if we open it up here, I have 15-inch MacBook Pro. Fits in here very easily, no issues. So I have an old 15-inch massive Toshiba notebook that I can slide right next to it in the back pocket. And an even older 15-inch Toshiba notebook from I don't even know how long ago that you can slide in the front. And we can throw in the charger for one of the laptops, the charger for the second laptop, and the charger for the MacBook Pro. All go into here. And if you look, there's actually still room if you want to put more stuff in here. This bag is massive. This thing can strap down very well. See, it stretches out very nicely. I don't think you're ever going to be in a situation where you actually can't fit anything into this bag. You could probably bring this as a carry-on onto a plane and not have any issues. This is pretty much a ridiculous amount of computers that no one's ever going to bring. You use this kind of as a substitution and see. These computers, as they go inside, if you look, hold up really nicely against the sides. There's not a lot of movement, and also with all this nice thick material, I don't think anything's going to get scratched up. Now, if you have a larger 17-inch computer, I don't think that's going to fit. And if you go way smaller, I have a 13-inch MacBook Air that I put in here that doesn't have a lot of give or movement around, but anything smaller than that probably will be knocking around a bit in here. You may want a case for it. So, in conclusion for this bag, there's a couple knocks on it that I think would be reasonable criticisms, which is mainly just it doesn't use those contiguous pieces of leather. Though, kind of like I talked about before, I don't think that's going to make a big difference on the durability of the bag, but it's probably why they can sell for a third of the price, The construction seems on par or better than many high-end bags that I've owned and purses that I've seen. I mean, this is really well made. It's obviously made to last a lifetime. These pieces of leather are all, really, really thick. If you look on the sides here, there's no, bonding or anything going on in between. It's obviously multiple pieces of leather that are just sewn and glued together. We have the reinforced rivets that I talked about. And this bag also has the same ability as the other bag to turn into a backpack. You have this big D-ring here where you slide the strap through and then click it on the bottom. Tried it once, and frankly, it doesn't make a very good backpack. I think in an emergent situation where you got tired of holding it or you needed both your hands, it's doable and it works, but it's not something you want to use as a backpack on a daily basis. So essentially, I would say this is an incredibly good buy. Definitely worth it. I know there's a lot of imitation companies out there that make similar ones. This is the one I decided to buy just because it had good reviews online and came from what seemed like a pretty decent company that made multiple leather products. They're all reviewed really, really highly, so it wasn't that they were just selling this one piece. And, frankly, I would buy this 1,000 times over if I had to. The other way to see this is, you can replace this bag 3 times before you get to the cost of a saddlebag. Unless, you get this bag stolen or lost, I don't think this bag is going to get replaced anytime soon. And it's an extra, 400 some odd dollars in your pocket that you can use to buy other things, more bags, whatever it is. Or, hey, you can buy 3 at the beginning and just use them up as they go along. But, frankly, I don't think there's much of a need in this situation to spend that extra money on the name brand bag. You might as well go with this and save yourself a bit of cash and get a great bag in the process.